morning and welcome to my YouTube channel. So this morning I've come up to Glencoe and I'm just going to show you the location where I'm standing. I'm right at the base of the Buccleuch Moor, and on the left you might just be able to catch the moon shining through down Glencoe. But what my plan is to go down to the river and then follow the river down as far as I can, just to see what we can find. I think there's some nice waterfalls down here. It's been a few years since I've been here. As I was driving past, the Buccleuch was so clear, I decided it might make quite a nice backdrop. The sunrise is due in 20 minutes, so if I can get down to the side of the river, we might be able to get some nice sunrise shots in the Buccleuch Moor. So join me and let's see where this journey takes us this morning. Right, so I've reached just the edge of the kind of the moor area that I was standing on, so I'll turn the camera around and you can see what's facing me. So there's a lot of water and bog in front of me, so I want to try and work out what's the best and safest way to get across there, because the sun rises up behind the mountains here. But what I want to try and do is see if I can catch the pinkiness of the clouds over here once the sun starts to come up. But what I'd ideally like to do is, if you can see that little black bothy, that's the mountain rescue bothy. So if I can get across the river, or even stand in that shale area, use the bothy as a kind of leading line in a front and an area of foreground interest, using the mountains as a backdrop, that might be quite a nice image. But the challenge first is getting over this bog. Right, so let me see what I can find, and hopefully I'll catch up with you at the other end. Right, as I'm walking further down nearest the river, I'm just trying to see. Oh wow. Right, there's some. I'll just move up here because I'm going to come back here once we've got more light. If I turn the camera around, you'll see why this is really interesting. So there's a series of little falls with the backdrop, the Glencoe in the mountains there. We've got a little tree and we've got a series of falls here that could be really nice foreground and getting the majestic Buccleuch in the background. But what I'll try and do is I'll go down, follow the edge of the river, walk up, and then hopefully when I get round that corner I'll be able to figure out, can I get a composition there, and also am I able to cross the river. So we'll catch up when I get round that bend. Right, sometimes you need to ask yourself, are you a flexible photographer? And what do I mean by that? Well, I was about to take shots of that bothy, but when I turned round, look at that, we've got an amazing sunrise kicking off behind us. So what I thought I'd do is I'd take some shots of the sunrise and then I'll focus back the way. So what I'll do is I'll get set up and I'll talk you through what I'm doing. Right, so sometimes we just have to be really flexible in what we're doing. So I don't have any filters on the camera just now because it's still too dark. We've got a lot of orange and pink in the sky, and then the river is snaking down right in front of us, and then we've got the top of the Glencoe Ski Centre first mound, and then we've got all the colour in the sky. So what I'm really conscious of doing is not to overexpose the water, because I don't need a filter because I can't see the water because there's too much sheen on it. But what I am doing is I'm doing a multiple exposure. So I'm taking an underexposed shot, a normal exposed shot, and an overexposed shot. So I call it a number of different exposures. You can call it bracketing. There's a number of terms you can use. But what I'm effectively trying to do is get different exposures at different times for the same scene. So what I'll do is I'm going to take a panoramic shot here, but I'm going to take multiple exposures to see if I can get a wide scene, because I'm now getting pink on the far left and I've got the beautiful white snow on the mountains here on the right. I'll take that panorama and I'll share that image with you now. Well, I hope you like that panorama image. Right, so what I've done is I've come down to the edge, just a wee bit further down to the edge of the water, and I'm going to show you another style of panoramic, because it's a panoramic style that a lot of people forget you're able to do, and that's a vertical panoramic, because everyone associates your panoramic with that letterbox style of image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this rock as foreground interest, and the key here is I've centred my camera, I've set it to manual exposure, manual focus, I've focused in on the mountains in the distance, I've set my aperture to f16, and I've got a 20-second shutter speed. So what I'm going to do is 3 images. I'm going to take an image of the rock, I'm going to lift the camera up, I'm going to take an image in the middle, and then I'm going to lift the camera higher up, and my third shot will have a quarter of the landscape and then the rest will be sky. And then what I'm able to do in Lightroom is then stitch that together. It will automatically know that that's a vertical panel. So if that vertical panoramic turns out, I'll share that image with you now. Alright, so I've lost the sunrise light in front of me, but what I do have is a really nice light on the top of the Buccellette of Moor. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm not going to do a panoramic, I'm trying to get this in one shot. So what I thought to do was, rather than take the photo of the Buccell on its own, which is a beautiful mountain, but you need a foreground to make it a wee bit more interesting. So what I've done is I've come into the river here, and I've got 2 slabs of rock in front of me, and I'm hoping that those 2 slabs of rock make a lot more interesting foreground than it would have been when I tried my shot earlier on. So I'm hoping that those 2 slabs of rock make a really interesting foreground, and that gives you a leading line all the way up to the Buccell. And the reason I don't have a filter is I left my bag on the other side of the river, and I walked across just to be safe, to see if I could find a shallow piece. The sunrise light started to come up, so I had to dart over here to start taking those. So that's my excuse. Anyway, I'll take 2 or 3 more images here, and if they turn out, I'll share those images with you now. Experimenting here, because what I'm trying to do is zoom in, get the last of the light on the top of the mountain up by the Devil's Staircase, just catch the top of the bothy on my left hand side, and then I've got the river Couple coming down, and I've got some nice smooth areas of the river, and then we've got some rippled effects, and I'm kind of hoping that could be quite nice. So I've got a banking of grass here, and then I've got another bank on the other side of the river, and I'm hoping that'll take me as a leading line into the river, then up to the mountain. And I'm hoping that the light, I'm just checking my images, and that does look really nice. So I'll take 2 or 3 shots. I'm going to do a wide shot, and I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll take a wide shot and I'll share that shot with you, and then I'll take this shot that I've taken, which is the zoomed in shot, that's given me that lower perspective as well. And you can let me know in the comments, if you like, what one you like. Do you like the wide view, or do you like the zoomed in view? Right, I'll take these shots and I'll share those images with you now. Alright, so I've come to the edge of this kind of rock area. And what I've got is, from a compositional point of view, I'm centering this big rock that's in front of me, and I've got a little rock on the right hand side and then another one behind it. So I've got three rocks, and then I've got the bothy, and then I've got the mountain in the background with the light, and I'll share that image with you now. Alright, so a little bit of improvisation here. When I stood back, I thought that would make a nice composition with the rocks, the bothy, and the mountains getting lit up in the background. But then the grass was in the bottom of my frame, and it was really just a distraction. So what I've done is I've mounted my camera on the grass bank, and I'm going to take these three rocks in front of me as my foreground, and then I'm going to shoot towards the bothy, and then hopefully with the bend and the curvature of the river, it'll be a leading line and sweep you up to the mountains in the image. That's the theory. So I will take 2 or 3 shots. I'm doing a single image here because my histogram is right in the middle. I've got space just at the blacks or the shadows, and I've got space just at the right for my highlights. So I've got everything in the one image. So from an exposure point of view, I don't need to take multiple exposures because I've got it right based on what the histogram's telling me. What I'll do is, I'll do 2 or 3 different images because there's a couple of nice wee compositions that could look nice in a vertical composition on its own. I might do a kind of wee landscape panorama, and I'll show you that image if I do that as well. Again, these are all single shot, but I'll stitch them together. And when I've finished, I'll share those images with you now. Right, so I'm just going to try and work my way across the river. I've found a shallow bit, just to try and get closer to the bothy and see if we can do something with it, because the hills behind it are getting lit up pretty nice. Just show you how clear this water is, and that's without any kind of filters, because we've kind of lost the light just now until the light comes up behind the mountains. But that composition there could be really nice. So I'll take my time, I'll have a wee look around, and I'll get set up and I'll catch up soon. Right, so I just reached the front of the bothy, and as you can see, it's pretty well worn. I'm going to do a frontal shot, but actually the other thing I noticed is, what might be quite nice is if I go that side of the river and take a side-on shot with the buckle in front. I don't know if that'll work, but what I'm also looking at is different compositions and different angles. So how do I incorporate the river, get some of the light in the mountains in the background but have the bothy. The mountains in the background are lit up really, really nicely, which means if I come to this side, because the chimney's quite cool as well, is how do I incorporate the bothy there, take out the river as much as I can, and then use the glen as the backdrop. So what I'll do is I'll do 2 or 3 of these images, I'll try them out, and if they work out, I'll share those images with you now. So I thought I'll stand in the middle of the river. I'll use the river as a leading line because the sun is hitting the snow right in the top of the mountains in front of me. So I'll take 2 or 3 different exposures because with the sun shining on the snow, it'll make it really, really bright, and I'll need to go right down on my exposure to make sure I can try and capture the detail. So what I'll do is I'll take 2 or 3 images. I'll do a vertical as well just to see if that turns out as a nice image, and if I do, it might only be a couple of images, But if I do, I'll share those images with you now. Right, so I was just about to leave to go down to further down the falls, and the sun has just hit and lit up the bothy in front of me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some time. I'll take 2 or 3 shots because it's a really nice light that's on the bothy, and the light's starting to light up the rocks in the foreground. So what I've set up is a vertical image, and I'll get those rocks in the composition, and then I'll do a wider image as well. So if those images turn out, I'll share those images with you now. Right, so I'm going to head further down river because the sun is now right in my face, and I'm going to see if I can get some compositions where the sun is not directly shining, especially on the water, because I don't want to get the highlights in the water or the glare. But I'll walk down the river and see if there's any other compositions, and I'll catch back soon. Well, I've come down to the side of the river, I'll show you what I've got. So these wee falls caught my attention, and there's falls at the top, but I'll need to have a higher elevation. But the other thing that caught my eye is while I'm standing here, all that mist is shifting and the sun's coming up behind the hill, but the sun's obviously going that direction. So I'm going to lose the lights. It's going to be quite dark here in a wee while. So what I'll do is I'll use the opportunity to take some shots of these little falls. What ideally I'd like is a shot of that tree, but the sun's going to be right in front of me. So if the sun comes up, I'll try and go further downriver and see if we can get a composition shooting up so that we're not in the way of the sun. Right, I'll take a couple of these images of these little waterfalls, and I'll share those images with you now. Walked across the river, I've just come over from there. I've worked my way carefully over these rocks because there's a lot of deep pools. But what I've got is, I've got a composition here where I've got the snow lit up on the tops of the mountains, because it's still quite dark in here yet, and I think it could be quite a while if the sun even gets here. But I've got the bothy, and then I've got these little waterfalls in front of me. So I'm just doing a 70mm zoom in shot and see if I can capture this scene, but I'm also conscious I'm trying to get the detail of the snow in the mountains as well. And whilst I was walking over, I stood in that little gully there and I shot back up the way, just to see if it'd be quite interesting with the effects with the water. So if any of these pictures turn out that I've taken up the way and along those little falls, I'll share those images with you now. Oh, I've got a wet bum, that's soaking wet. Right, so there's not a lot of light that way, but all my light is this way, especially with the way the light's sitting on top of the mountains. And I've got this beautiful cascade of waterfalls in front of me. So, and I can just see the top of the black bothy as well, just above the horizon there. So I've got a number of options here, and I've got a number of compositions. So I can go really wide, and I will do that. I'll do some wide images. I'll then go in tight and I'll zoom in. Oops, it's really slippy. And then I'll zoom in to some of the kind of small waterfalls and see what patterns I can get from that. I might try and do a panoramic image, and I'll give that a go. I've got a polarizer on now because I am closer to the water and the light is higher up, so I can now start to see through the water where earlier I was getting that sheen. So what I'll do is I'll take a number of compositions here, and when I'm finished, I'll share those images with you now. I'm taking my life in my own hands on this black wet moss on these rocks. It is like sheet ice. It's so slippy. Right, so I'm going to take a vertical shot of the Buccellata moor because the tips of the snow are all lit up by the sun. It's absolutely beautiful. So what I'll do is I've got a big rock in the foreground. So what I'll try and incorporate the rock and the buccal. I'll do an image stack. So I'll get the rock sharp, I'll get the buccal sharp, I'll bring them together. And when I'm finished, I see the sun's coming up again. But I'm going to move around because this is quite treacherous. So I'm going to get off this rock. I don't want to tempt fate. Anyway, I'll share these images that I've taken here with you now. Alright, so as I was walking back across the river to get to the bank, I've spotted another composition here with a buccal. And it's quite nice because I've got a gap between these two rocks and the water's coming through, but I've also got the falls in front of me, and it's actually turning out to be a really nice image. So what I'll do is I'll take a couple of shots. I might even try a panoramic while I'm here just to widen the scene a little bit, and then once I've finished, I'll share these images with you now. So I think we'll finish the video here. Here's hoping we can make a video of this. Here's hoping that some of those spots you like have been kind to us this morning, and some of these images have turned out, especially with a wee bit nice light on it, because we've been in a dark area. But yeah, here's hoping. Anyway, we'll end the video here. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do, because you know it's free. And if you press the bell notification, that'll let you know the next time I post a video. So thanks very much for watching, and here's to the next video.